We've had more than our fair share of wet weather. It's around 9:30 Monday morning, and you can see it's pretty bloody wet. And it's been like that for a while. We've had some nice weather, but gee, we've had a lot of rain too. Anyway, there's a lot of cars parked in the street today. Maybe they're tradies, I've no idea. Yeah, I've got a bit of a walk ahead of me, and should be okay. It's about a 25-minute walk up to where I'm going, so good to get out of the flat. I did some shopping yesterday, and of course I forgot the one of the major items, which was to get some more garbage bags. Got to make lists. They are useful things. Yeah, and as far as news is concerned, of course, there was a huge amount of news about the police brutality taking place in Victoria as more and more demonstrations are taking place. And I've got to say, I'm wondering if the time will come where someone will attack the cops, because I've got to say the PR exercise is not working, that's for sure. If the Victorian Police Force think they're doing a good job of PR, well, but I think that when you got hotheads like Luke Cornelius as your Deputy Commissioner, it says something about the culture of that force. And I think under the Andrews government it appears to have been pretty highly politicised, and if they have a particular doctrine about lockdowns, they believe that what they're doing is 100% right and no dissent will be accepted because they have the right course. Well, when you've got that sort of dogma, it's going to could lead to heads being bumped, and that's my prediction. I predicted there would be tensions if lockdowns continued on for too long, and that's totally been borne out with what's happened in Victoria. Victorians have had a gutful of it, and a lot of Victorian businesses, and the most prominent is Jim's Mowing, Jim Penman, they're kicking up over it. He's not the only one. There's actually people in the airline industries are kicking up. Mainly in Victoria, it's hospitality. It seems to be really taking the brunt because, you know, it's a huge cafe city, and the businesses are starting to complain. I don't know what Andrews thinks he's trying to achieve with this. He says he's going to ease lockdowns, and then when it comes to the crunch, he does bugger all. And it's just pissing people off. And I think the opinion poll that showed that the Liberals are about 61% compared to Labor at the moment is probably fairly accurate. I'd say that Labor will get absolutely monstered in an election if they don't do some radical changes. I think they've got to get rid of Daniel Andrews. I think he's just become poison, political poison in that state. He's had a good run. He's done a lot of... He's spun his way through a couple of elections, so he's done extremely well, but hubris eventually takes over. And it's got to that stage with him. He thinks he's basically beyond reproach, and he's not. They're not the smartest people on earth, the people in control, and they're being found out. And you can only push people so far. Even a woke state like Victoria, the people eventually say enough is enough, and they push the buttons too hard, and now people are starting to rebel. And those demonstrations are not going to be receding. They're going to just increase in numbers, I predict. I think it's going to be very, very worrying. Yeah, it's raining. Heck, you can hear it. My Vietnamese umbrella's doing the trick anyway. It's good. It's about the closest I can get to Vietnam at the moment is my umbrella. Very sad situation. And of course Scott Morrison's decided that Australians aren't allowed to leave the country for some unknown reason, and unfortunately it hasn't been made a big issue, maybe because Victoria's become such a an important story that people are basically are concentrating on in the media. I've got to say the Daily Mail has been amazing. Their coverage of all these stories has been much better than the Herald Sun. The Murdoch press has really been shown out. I think it's interesting that an English tabloid who basically have a lot of scandalous stories, that's what they basically seem to cover most of the time, they're doing a damn good job of covering real news as well. So it's an interesting mix, but as far as I'm concerned, they're the go-to place. Their coverage has been really good and quite comprehensive, much more so than like I say, the Herald Sun. And the thing is, of course, they're still playing these stupid games with News Corp. They're not allowing people to read the full stories. You can get a cut down version on their online site, but it's only a cut down version of stories, whereas with Daily Mail it appears as if that's the whole story they're showing, which is brilliant. And considering they're English, they've got a very good reporter network in Australia reporting news. And it's not just Australia either, they've got coverage also in the States. The first time I saw them was actually Tim Poole was using them as source material. So, and I think he's damn right. I think it's a very good source of information. So even though I bag the mainstream media all the time, and I do believe their days are numbered, there are certain outlets that are doing a decent job. So it just shows you that maybe certain operators, certain companies will survive if they provide that sort of coverage. Because I'm finding it damn useful. It's helping me with frame stories each day, because you just got to flash the stuff up on screen and you can see what's going on graphically, which is fantastic. Got good photographers too. They're really on the ball. So yeah, I mean, kudos to them. I mean, I'm not going to bag all media. If someone does a decent job, I will give them a thumbs up. The trouble is, not enough good journalists are being trained, and the university system is just not working as a training ground. There's got to be a better way. And as I say, go back to on-the-job training. Why not? I mean, they tried that also with nursing, making it into a degree, and I don't know if it's been a brilliant success. Apparently it's just a lot of theory that they give the nurses, but they still have to do their prac at the hospitals where they usually train. So it's just a joke. I think higher education's just become a big industry, a bit of a Ponzi industry at that, because especially in the States where it's really expensive. It's not great here if you have to have a student loan, but it's even worse in the States. I think people are turning away from universities. They're realising that they're not the ticket to a great job unless you're in specified areas, like law, medicine and some STEM subjects. Apart from that, it doesn't really give you that much of a leg up, I don't think. Tim Poole certainly feels that way, and so does Elon Musk for that matter. He's smart enough to know that universities aren't the be all and end all. He's got a degree, but he puts great trust in the people he hires, what they've done rather than just what they've studied. So I think that's a really good, mature attitude. He's very pragmatic, and I put him so far ahead of bloated bureaucracies like Boeing. Boeing just basically is a company there to screw the government for contracts like the SLS, which is the gigantic rocket they're building that's to go to the moon. The trouble is, they pitched this as a cheap alternative to what, say, Musk is doing, because it was on-the-shelf technology. But it's actually been more expensive than they said, and it's been delayed by, God, I don't know, 5 or 10 years. It's just an absolute scandal. And the reason it's going on is because of politics. Obviously someone in Seattle, Washington, is getting some kudos out of having all those jobs in Seattle. But I'll tell you what, I doubt whether it'll last. One thing that's great about capitalism, they've got a concept called creative destruction, and it's what's happening with the motor industry right now, because Elon Musk is totally revolutionizing it by making electric vehicles pretty well close to the same cost as petrol vehicles. Soon they'll be much cheaper, and it'll be basically RIP petrol. It's only for very specialised situations. You still may need a petrol or diesel engine, but for everyday use, most people will be using electricity, which will be good, because it is, especially in an urban environment, say like Saigon, where it's incredibly polluted because of all the motorbikes. If you switch to electric motorbikes, it would be so much nicer. It'd be quieter, and there wouldn't be the air pollution. It'd be brilliant. So I'm looking forward to the day when it is adapted. It could be about 5 years before it's a mass adaptation, but it's already started, but it's only small fry at the moment, and people sort of poo-poo it. There's the old Lily Creek again. Very nice, isn't it? Very serene. Yeah, it's nice living up here. Even though it's wet, still attractive. Got that tropical feel. I've got no complaints. Yeah, but concepts such as creative destruction is important, because you allow a new player to come in with a totally new type of technology, and it'll just blast out the opposition. And that's exactly what's happening now. Share prices of GM and Ford are flatlining, whereas Tesla's gone through the roof. Another area they're going to move into, I'm positive of this, is eventually when the battery density gets up to about 400 or 500 watts, then you'll see planes using electricity, which sounds bizarre at the moment, but they have got some prototypes already around that do fly. But Musk will make it a mass production option, and he will lower the cost, and with increased battery density, then you'll make it a viable opposition. First it'll be for short-term routes, but then eventually you'll be able to do long-haul routes. And I suggest that what they'll do is they'll probably ditch the actual batteries that they've used up mid-flight to lower the weight. The same principle they use with current jets, because the jet starts off fully fueled, fully weighted, very heavy, and as the journey continues on, it gets lighter and lighter because the fuel's burned off. You can do the same, use the same principle in a different way by parachuting used batteries from the plane to go back to depots, predetermined depots on the route, that will then recharge them and send them back to airports to be shoved back into planes. I think that's what's going to happen. Well, it's an option. I don't know whether it will happen. Maybe there's technical problems with it, but I can't see why you can't parachute things like batteries down to a predetermined destination. I mean, if SpaceX can recover the first stage of a rocket, I think they're capable of doing anything virtually. It's amazing what they've achieved. And so look, I'm a big fan of his, and I'm not a big fan of his compatriots, fellow billionaires like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and what you got? Dorsey. Dorsey is the Twitter guy. I don't think he's actually in the top 4 though. It's Gates and Zuckerberg, and of course Bezos. Oh God, bloody Bezos. Anyway, I think he stands out as a major innovator. Bezos has innovated, but he's more of a woke CEO. There's too many of them around. I think Elon is unique in that respect. He's determined to produce excellence in engineering, and I think these other guys are more interested in the bottom line. But I don't think that's what motivates Elon Musk. So I think he's a good guy. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you think there's anything there of use to you, or entertainment or whatever. And either do that or give me a thumbs up, or if you're feeling really energetic, do both. That'd be great. But please don't ignore me. That's the worst thing you can do on YouTube, is be ignored.